Hi there, congrats on making it to the last supplemental video for my Better Cycles by the Forkful ebook. Are you tired of hearing me say the full title yet? I just can't help myself. But we are going to finish up by discussing the impact environmental toxins have on our hormones. Because the reality is that you can't escape harmful chemicals in today's world, not even on that remote tropical island that you've been dreaming of. So we need to know the threat, learn to identify them, and strategize how to avoid them. But before I get into it, we are not going to panic, okay? We're not going to throw out everything in our homes all at once. That is not affordable or practical for most of us. Instead, I'm suggesting that you look for less toxic alternatives as the need comes up to replace them. So the point of this video is not to overwhelm you, it's to help you feel like a more well-informed consumer. All right, I think we can all agree that chemicals are bad for us, but why do they have to be such jerks to your hormones? So certain chemicals are classified as xenoestrogens, which means they resemble the molecular structure of natural estrogens. So these imposters can replace natural estrogens at receptor sites. They can bind with the receptors to trigger that hormonal response, and just overall, they elevate your body's estrogen burden. And to be clear, these xenoestrogens are found in everything. We're talking beauty and personal care products, household cleaners, canned food, nonstick cookware, conventional produce and animal products, plastics, and even water-resistant clothing. I could keep going, but I think you get it. And we could go on and on and on about trying to find alternatives for these products. And unfortunately, you can't rely on every label that says all natural or green to be telling that full truth. I highly recommend checking out the Environmental Working Group's website for this reason. It's an excellent resource. They have consumer guides on nearly any type of product you could think of. I really like their Skin Deep resource page. It's all beauty and personal care products, and it's very extensive. So I'm gonna link that one in the caption. But then another one of my favorite tips is to download apps for health conscious consumers. I use the EWG's Healthy Living app and Yuka. Both of these apps allow you to search by category or scan a product right in the store. So they'll give you a grade, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, or A through D. And those grading systems are really easy to interpret. And then they explain why the flagged ingredients are a concern. It might say cancer risk or skin irritation, and that way you can help decide what product is best for you and your budget. So the food labels are becoming a bit more transparent, but regulations for beauty and cleaning products are not as stringent. So we have to do a little bit more work on our end. Apps like Healthy Living and Yuka help you sort through the shelves and get out of the grocery store quicker so that you can go home with a product that you feel good about. Let's focus in on a few issues about our food and drinking water. You may have noticed the areas in the book where I mentioned organic, pasture-raised, wild-caught. This is intentional because if you're working on your gut and hormonal health, conventional animal products and produce can contain toxins that may be sabotaging your good efforts. So my personal top reason for buying organic fruit, vegetables, and grains is to avoid glyphosate. This is the main ingredient in Roundup weed killer. And although it's been cleared because it doesn't adversely affect humans, there is substantial evidence that it is harmful for the little bugs in our gut microbiome. Now, I grew up in the Tamagotchi and sea monkey era. I have a real affinity for taking care of little things, and if you tell me that something's good for my gut microbes, I'll probably do it. But research has been suggesting that glyphosate residue on our food is connected to increased rates of irritable bowel syndrome, gluten sensitivity, and celiac disease. Well, that makes a lot of sense because we know that gut issues and food sensitivities pop up when our gut microbiome isn't in great shape. They are the maintenance and security staff of your intestinal lining. So if they get knocked out, then you're gonna have problems. And the issues with glyphosate really just continue on up the food chain to affect conventionally raised animal products, because unless something is designated as organic, pasture raised, then the grain fed to those animals was likely treated with herbicides and pesticides. In 2023, we found through USDA surveys that 85% of corn and 95% of soybean crops were genetically modified. This allows the farmers to use glyphosate, herbicides, pesticides, and such on their crops. And then these crops are used to make grain feed for poultry farms, dairy cattle, beef cattle, fish farms. You can keep on going with that. So in addition to skipping the glyphosate, studies have found that pasture-raised and wild-caught products contain higher concentration of certain nutrients, and they even have more favorable omega-6 to omega-3 ratios. This is likely because the animals are eating their natural diet. We also have to consider the antibiotics and growth hormones that are used in the conventional industry to increase the product yield, because those are also problematic for our guts and hormone health. So if you're concerned with how you're going to afford this grocery bill, I am right there with you. This doesn't need to be a rant about why it's ridiculous that foods laden with chemicals and devoid of nutrients are less expensive than single ingredient, nutrient dense foods, but you catch the vibe. So luckily, the Environmental Working Group is looking out for us here again. Each year, they compile a list of fruits and vegetables that are most likely and least likely to be sprayed with herbicides and pesticides. And then becomes their Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 lists. And those can help you decide, I'm going to buy conventional broccoli, but organic apples. So you can make some swaps and trades there. I'm going to put the links for these below too. As for animal products and seafood, I would suggest considering how often do you eat a particular food. For instance, if you have eggs for breakfast every morning, maybe it would be a good idea to prioritize more of your grocery budget there. As for tap water, there are a whole slew of chemicals that can be found in our water even after it's passed through a treatment facility. There's atrazine, which is another common weed killer that is typically used on farm fields, residential lawns, golf courses, and public parks. The runoff makes its way into our water system, so it's commonly found in tap water. And this chemical has been linked to increased rates of infertility and miscarriage, low sperm count, and even changing the sex organs of frogs from male to female. That's how powerful of an endocrine disruptor some of these xenoestrogens are. So if you're curious about your town's tap water quality, the Environmental Working Group has a website for that too. You just put your area code into their tap water database, which I'm linking below, and you can view the most recent results. They also have guides for water filter options, which are sorted so conveniently by effectiveness and budget. So now that we've touched on several categories, I encourage you to consider what makes the most sense for you based on your priorities and budget. Do you want to start buying organic from the Dirty Dozen list? Do you love your 18-step skincare routine and you want to switch over to cleaner products? Or maybe you have been needing a new food storage container set anyway, might as well get glass and toss the plastic. Pick whatever starting point suits you, and then just keep gradually making changes. Your intestines, liver, and hormones will thank you.